Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Cade, and what an absolute honor to be sitting here with you, Fawzia. It's Fawzia Koofi. I mean, what can you say? What a story, remarkable story, and you're about to make history because in 2014 you will officially become the first female to run for president of Afghanistan. But your story detailed in The Favored Daughter, your book, it's humbling, remarkable. You were on Jon Stewart last night and we were just talking before we went on camera. I've never seen a reaction of him in awe of somebody the way he was of you. I've got to tell you, I feel the same way. I'm going to throw the ball to you because your story remarkable. Your 19th child, you were left to die, and now you've risen to become the first female parliamentary speaker in Afghanistan, hopefully the first female president. Talk to me about this experience and this journey.
No, thank you so much for the very nice words. It's true that I come from a country where women have really suffered a lot. Not only women, I think all citizens, because of the war and conflict that we faced in 35 years. But traditionally, women in Afghanistan were suffering. Traditionally, it's a society which is, women have less access to basic rights than man. And I was also one of those women that was born in this society and grown up in such a society where I had to face discrimination and injustice in each step of my life. And I think that gave the fact that I faced so much of challenges in my life, it gives me more of commitment to change and to come to politics and to come forward. And therefore I decided to come to Parliament. Although I come from a political family, as you rightly said, my father was assassinated. He was also a parliamentarian, and many of my family members, brothers, were killed during the war. So politics was not something that my family members wanted anymore, especially my mother. But during Taliban, especially when life becomes so difficult for people in Afghanistan, and particularly for women, and I was living in Afghanistan and I was facing each and every day all of those difficulties. For us to go to see a doctor, to go to see, well, education was banned, but basic things like to go as a human being breathe in the streets of Kabul, that was so difficult. And therefore I decided to come and to come to politics and make a small change if I can. It's not also easy as a woman politician, because when you are a housewife, your problems are different. When you are a teacher, your problems are different. When you are a social activist, you face problems still. But when you are a politician, you face greater challenges.
Not only challenges, your daily life is danger. You've had multiple assassination attempts. Again, the terms courage, you are the definition of it. Talk to me about your daily life. You're showing so much courage in pursuing this goal of becoming the head of Afghanistan and leading the country into a new era. What is it like being you in your home country?
Yes, as I said, it's not only political challenges that I face, which are great. I mean, great amount of challenges, but also security challenges. And I think for Taliban or those who oppose women presence and who oppose democracy, it will be a great message if they manage to kill, kind of somebody who is pursuing the women movement in Afghanistan. It will be an undermining cause for other women if they manage to do so. And therefore, I think they're like going behind me each, everywhere I go, because sometimes I face them also face to face, and they started shooting at me. But it's on one hand there are problems. On the other hand, when you see the love of people, when you see the respect people give to you, when you see the demand of people, and when you see the need that people have and they want you to help them in those needs, that is like the energy, it comes to your body and it gives you moving. And that's like something that it keeps me always moving when I see the need of my people.
Do you feel right now, Fawzia, that progress is being made? Have there been significant changes in both attitude as well as daily life for women in Afghanistan over the last 5, 10, 15 years?
Oh, a lot. I think we cannot compare the last 11 years, in particular after the Taliban regime fall apart. I think we cannot compare the current situation with Taliban government or any part of our history. Although women movement were in Afghanistan forever. I mean, there were women in parliament before, there were women ministers before, but during Taliban and civil war, in particular Taliban, was a period where it was like a black dark in our history. And since the fall of Taliban regime, there has been huge progress on both socially, like the perspective changes, and the fact that in many places women actually vote, people voted for women in the election, not as quota, which we have quota, but as, you know, open contesters, like for them to be elected on open seats. That is a sign of change, I guess. In many places where people wouldn't allow their boys to go to school 20 years back, now they allow their girls to go to school. I think that's a change of perspective, and I think no governments in the world impose that change to people. When sometimes I hear that democracy is important to Afghanistan and it's not an element that will work in Afghanistan, and when you go to the villages and you see that people send their girls to school, they're pro-democracy, they're a government that they could raise their voice at least and could access to their basic rights. The question comes that whether you can buy that argument when people say, you know, Afghanistan is not prepared and ready for democracy. So I think there has been huge changes socially. Also, in terms of structure-wise, like we have parliament, women in the parliament, we have, Afghan institutions, Afghan constitution, freedom of speech, media. But in the meantime, all of these things could be at risk, and they are right now, if the world once again abandon Afghanistan, and particularly the U.S.
Well, you say, obviously, the U.S. abandoning Afghanistan. We just had President Obama give the State of the Union detailing that they will be pulling troops out of Afghanistan even further. How do you think that will affect the country, and obviously, potentially the Taliban becoming more powerful again and coming back into a governing force?
What I see in the United States, there is this notion that the Afghan war is not anymore affecting security in the world. So it's an Afghan problem. We will have to get out and bring troops home. And then because you have your own, economical problem as well as your own politics, we are kind of confused and uncertain because you went to Afghanistan not only because to support Afghans, but also because your own territories were at risk when the 11th September attack happened. There were mistakes repeated by you, and there were mistakes also made by Afghans. As a result, things are not in the right direction as we wanted. There are problems, but in the meantime, things could get worse, and Afghanistan can become a safe haven for terrorism once again if there is a hurry in pulling out troops, and if there is this interest in capitals of the Western country that let the Afghans to deal with Afghan war, and we get out of this pull our troops and reduce our interest and our financial as well as political involvement in Afghanistan because it's an Afghan problem. I think it is a regional problem, the security in Afghanistan, and now I think a bit of global problem. The security in Afghanistan is the security of your own, countries, and therefore I think it's important for your leaders, and it's important for, your people, and for the Congress and for the Senate in the United States. And I am sure they understand that people of Afghanistan are grateful for what you do. I'm sorry. Even if our leaders don't describe it, we are grateful of what the partnership we have. But we also have to realize that it's a common cause we are fighting for.
You live in Kabul. What is the difference between city life for a woman and rural life?
Well, although I live in Kabul, but I'm a village woman. I come from the very, very remote area of the country.
Which makes your story even more miraculous. It really does.
I come from a very remote area. When I travel to those villages and I wear the same clothes that those people does, you wouldn't recognize that it's actually me sitting in New York doing the interview with you. So it's true that there is a huge gap between women living in the cities and women living in the villages. Women in the villages still need to have a greater access to economy. They have to have more opportunities for education. They have to have more opportunities for access to social services like health clinics, because for a pregnant woman, she has to walk in some of my villages 1 week to reach a hospital.
I was actually even reading something where you were saying where people have to walk 2 hours a day just to get to school back and forth. We take what we have for granted many times.
That's true. Yeah, I have seen girls, young girls, as young as like 6 or 7 years old, that they walk 2 to 3 hours, rightly you said, and they are like with black uniform. But the important thing here is that with all the challenges, girls go to school. You know, although sometimes there are like heartbreaking stories, because, you know, I visited a school it's not actually a school building, but it's just an open area. It's close to a mountain, and girls were sitting in the class continuing their education, while a big piece of rock came out of the mountain. Because there was no protection wall, it came and hit the heart of a 7 years old girl, and she passed away immediately. So when we see those stories, there is a huge difference. But of course, women in the cities also have their own problem: violence against women, domestic violence against women, the fact that they don't have access to higher level position to the extent that they deserve to have. These are still women problems in Afghanistan, but we are moving slowly. The important thing is there should be political commitment, and the important thing is that women progress in Afghanistan after 2001 is one of the success of your presence also in Afghanistan. So we of course cannot afford to give up to this success.
If I were to fast forward 5-10 years down the line, what would be your utopian dream for both your country as well as women in your country?
For Afghanistan, I want Afghanistan in 5 or 10 years to be a country which doesn't only receive money and funds for donation, but a country that uses its own potentials for economy, like the mines and the natural resources, economically powerful in the region, and does make a difference in terms of the regional powers. It's not we are located at a very important geographical location. We are basically in the middle of the nuclear powers, so it's very important for Afghanistan to be economically empowered and to link all of these powers, so that Afghanistan doesn't become a battlefield between different countries, but a country where it's a country of opportunity. People go for jobs, people go for economic opportunity, which we do have all those resources. In the meantime, it's a country that women are not regarded as second gender of the society, but women, my daughters and all women of the country, are respected as a human being. And I don't have to struggle for the things that I took already for granted 11 years back. I don't have to go and talk to the leaders of the country about the fact that you cannot argue with Taliban, you cannot compromise with Taliban the women political rights, you cannot go and talk to Taliban how many women in the future could be in the parliament. These are things that should be taken for granted, and we have to take it for granted because we need to progress. We cannot go back.
Are there moments, and have there been moments, where this has been too much for you, overwhelming, where you've thought about actually giving up?
Well, I guess every day almost. Yes, because working on issues that I work, basically to breaking the taboos in your society, you have to put your forehead forward in the stone. That's how it is. Every day you basically beat your forehead in the stone. So sometimes I think, I could have a different life with more opportunities of easier life. But when I receive a telephone call from a woman that is in need, or when I receive a telephone call from an elderly man from a village of Afghanistan that needs drinking water for his village, or I receive a telephone call from a teacher that wants more stationery and books for her or his school, and I could help to bring a change, then it gives me, the motivations to go forward. And I think I have come so much forward that I cannot go back now. I cannot, I have my supporters and I have my opponents. So for the sake of my supporters and people who have, I become role models for them, I cannot go back.
I'm going to leave you with this, Fawzia. I have had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people sit with me in this microphone, and I honestly cannot think of anyone more remarkable that I've sat next to, and someone who really, again, defines the term courage, bravery, and determination, and keep fighting the good fight. It's your story, your path, and everything that you're accomplishing, both for your country as well as the female gender of your country, is remarkable. And
thank you.
I wish you luck in 2014. With that being said, make sure to check out her remarkable book, The Favored Daughter by Fawzia Koofi, and she will be hopefully the first female president of Afghanistan, already the first female parliamentary speaker. What an absolute honor. Kate out.